I used to think self-abandonment meant leaving yourself completely, like disappearing, giving up on your dreams, walking away from your life. I thought it had to be something dramatic, something obvious, something you would immediately notice. But lately, I've realized something that honestly made me stop and think. I don't think self-abandonment usually looks dramatic. I think it's one of the quietest things we do. And maybe that's why so many of us never realize it's happening. Because self-abandonment isn't always walking away from your life. Sometimes it's walking away from yourself. It's saying yes when every part of you wants to say no. It's apologizing when you've done nothing wrong. It's staying quiet because you're scared someone might be upset. It's constantly wondering, what do they need? Without ever asking, what do I need? And that's the part that scared me. Because if someone had asked me a year ago, do you choose yourself? I would have said, of course. Now, I don't think I understood what choosing yourself actually meant. And I think that's why so many people struggle with confidence. Not because they're incapable, because they've spent years quietly abandoning themselves. I actually think that's the hardest part. Nobody wakes up and decides, I'm going to stop listening to myself. It happens slowly. Someone asks you to do something. You don't want to. But before you've even checked in with yourself, you hear yourself saying, yeah, that's fine. Somebody says something that hurts you. Instead of asking, why did that hurt me? You immediately explain why they probably didn't mean it. Have you ever noticed that? How quickly we defend everyone else, but how rarely we defend ourselves. I started noticing that in my own life. Not because somebody told me, because I kept walking away from situations, feeling disconnected. Like I'd been there for everybody else, except me. One thing I've noticed recently is that people think because I'm calm, nothing gets to me. And honestly, most things don't anymore, not the way they used to. If somebody judges me, I don't immediately believe them. If somebody misunderstands me, I don't spend 3 days trying to convince them otherwise. That's growth. I'm proud of that. But something else has been happening too. Sometimes I'll leave a conversation, go into my room, sit in silence, and I'll think, I'm human too. Not because I feel sorry for myself. I hate victimizing yourself. That's never been me. It's more like a reminder. Because I spend so much time understanding everyone else that sometimes I forget to understand myself. I know what everyone else is feeling. But if somebody asked me, what do you need right now? I don't know if I'd have an answer. And that made me wonder, how many times have I ignored myself without even noticing? Self-abandonment isn't one decision. I think we imagine losing ourselves as one huge moment. Like one day you wake up and suddenly you've lost yourself. I don't think that's how it happens. I think it happens one tiny decision at a time. You ignore your intuition. You tell yourself, it's not a big deal. You stay somewhere that doesn't feel right. You tell yourself, maybe I'm overreacting. You let someone cross a boundary. You stay quiet because keeping the peace feels easier. You break one promise to yourself, then another, until eventually, your own voice becomes so quiet you don't hear it anymore. That's self-abandonment, not leaving your life. Leaving yourself. Why do we do this? That question stayed with me because I kept thinking, why would anyone keep abandoning themselves? Then I started reading more about psychology, and something finally made sense. Your brain is designed to protect connection, especially early in life. If speaking up once led to rejection, your brain remembers. If saying no caused conflict, your brain remembers. If expressing emotions made you feel ashamed, your brain remembers. So your brain adapts. It starts asking, what do I need to do to stay accepted? And sometimes the answer becomes, ignore yourself. Not because you're weak, because your brain believes belonging equals safety. Thousands of years ago, being rejected from your group could literally threaten survival. We don't live that way anymore, but our brains still carry those ancient protective systems. So if ignoring yourself helped you keep connection once, your brain may keep repeating that strategy long after you need it. The problem is, your brain doesn't realize what it's costing you. Because every single time you ignore your own needs, you're teaching yourself something. My needs don't matter. Every time you silence yourself, my voice doesn't matter. Every time you ignore your intuition, I can't trust myself. Think about that. Self-worth isn't only built by what people say to you. It's built by what you repeatedly communicate to yourself. Every choice is evidence. Every action becomes proof. Your brain isn't listening to your intentions. It's watching your behavior. If you constantly choose everyone else, your brain starts believing I'm not someone worth choosing. That's why self-abandonment slowly destroys self-trust. The strange thing is, self-abandonment often gets rewarded. People call you mature, easygoing, selfless, understanding. You're the person who never causes problems, the person who always compromises, the person who never asks for much. Everyone thinks you're strong. Meanwhile, you're becoming a stranger to yourself. One day, somebody asks, "What do you actually want?" And you genuinely don't know. Not because you don't care, because you've spent years practicing the opposite question. What does everyone else want? Then something clicked for me. I've been talking a lot recently about self-trust, and I finally realized where it actually comes from. It doesn't come from achieving something big. It comes from tiny moments. You say, "I'm tired," and you rest. You say, "I don't want this," and you leave. You say, "That hurt," and instead of pretending you're fine, you admit it. Every single time you listen to yourself, your brain remembers. Every single time you abandon yourself, your brain remembers that too. Trust is built through evidence. If somebody constantly broke promises to you, you wouldn't trust them anymore. Why would your own brain be any different? Lately, I've been asking myself one question. Not, what should I do? Just, if I fully respected myself right now, what would I do? Sometimes the answer is uncomfortable. Sometimes it disappoints people. Sometimes it means saying no. Sometimes it means resting. Sometimes it means letting people misunderstand me. But every time I answer honestly, I feel something I've been trying to build for a long time. Not confidence, connection. Connection with myself. And I honestly think that's where confidence begins. Not in achieving more, in abandoning yourself less. So if you've been feeling disconnected lately, maybe you're asking yourself the wrong question. Maybe the question isn't, "What's wrong with me?" Maybe it's, "When did I stop listening to myself?" Because I don't think self-abandonment happens all at once. I think it happens quietly. Every time you ignore your intuition. Every time you silence your needs. Every time you make yourself smaller to make somebody else more comfortable. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to ask yourself one question. Not, "Was today productive?" Ask yourself, "How many times today did I leave myself behind?" Maybe it was saying yes when you meant no. Maybe it was pretending you were okay. Maybe it was apologizing for existing. Maybe it was staying somewhere that didn't feel right. Just notice it, because you can't stop abandoning yourself until you notice where it's happening. And maybe healing isn't becoming somebody new. Maybe healing begins the moment you stop leaving yourself behind. Because confidence, peace, self-worth, none of them come from becoming a different person. I think they begin the moment you become someone your own mind can trust.